Welcome to Behind the Firewall. I'm C&N teammate Lindsay Bickley, and I have the privilege of facilitating these discussions with our Director of Information Security, Pete Bogerman, as he unpacks the latest topics in cybersecurity and how they impact your business. Last month, we were joined by Katie Clemens, our Business Banking Administrative Coordinator. She talked us through some common email vendor fraud scenarios and how to safeguard against them. Today, Katie will be joining us again, this time sharing some tips for how business owners can protect themselves from check fraud and digital banking fraud. Katie, welcome back.
Thanks for having me today.
So how can customers protect themselves from some of the digital banking scams that you're seeing?
We always recommend using strong, unique login credentials. So we want to avoid using obvious usernames like Joe Smith. Instead, we always suggest trying something like Joe_Smith_$, something that's unique and hard to guess. Within our online banking, we have account alerts, so we always recommend utilizing those, taking advantage of those. You can have alerts like password changes, new device logins, failed login attempts, forgot password requests, or even when your account gets locked out. They give you a heads up that someone might be trying to access your account.
It's so easy to set those alerts up too. Mm-hmm. I've done the same thing on my account, and I'll get a phone message, I get a text message, if there's a failed login, and there's a lot of features and functionality in those alerts just to give you an awareness of what's going on.
Something else we always seem to be saying is CNN will never ask customers for their secure access code. We mentioned that earlier. We'll never ask you for that code or your password, and we'll never ask you to click on links to verify a transaction.
Those are all really helpful. And then what about, you'd also mentioned the actual check fraud, physical checks. What can customers do to protect themselves against that?
We like to say avoid using windowed envelopes. You don't want your account information visible through the envelope as it does move through the mail system. We don't want to think like that, but unfortunately, as we've talked about, there are people out there who have ill intentions and could intercept that piece of mail. So stay away from the windowed envelopes. We also suggest taking advantage of CNN's fraud prevention tools. We have Positive Pay, which helps you catch suspicious checks before they clear. It checks things like the payee name, the dollar amount, and the check number against your uploaded list of issued checks. And then we also have ACH Debit Block. This lets you control which vendors you can allow authorization to debit your account and for how much. So anytime anything out of the ordinary, you'll be notified of anything outside of those parameters so you can approve it or reject it before it's too late.
All really helpful tools. Thank you for going in depth on those. Thank you, Katie and Pete, for being on here today. And thank you for tuning in to this episode of Behind the Firewall. Stay tuned for another episode next month.
This podcast is brought to you by C&N, member FDIC, an equal housing lender.